At the dawn of a new technological era, humanity reached a level where memory was no longer ephemeral, but a resource to be preserved forever. In 2084, the Echoes of Humanity project was launched by an international consortium of scientists and visionaries. The idea was simple yet revolutionary: to create a system capable of archiving individual and collective memories, allowing the experiences and lessons of the past to become immortal. This technology, named Mnemosyne, promised a revolution in how humans understood history, identity, and the continuity of knowledge. Mnemosyne functioned as a quantum neural network that, connected to biotechnological implants, captured the sensory, emotional, and cognitive impressions of individuals. Each memory, once captured, was converted into data and stored in vast servers interconnected by advanced temporal encryption algorithms. The goal was not only to preserve important events but to allow future generations to relive historical and personal moments, creating a permanent link between the past and the future. The first tests of the system were carried out in small communities, where volunteers volunteered to record their life stories. Ordinary people, with fears and dreams, had the opportunity to leave a digital legacy. Soon, the benefits began to reveal themselves. Families separated by time could learn about their ancestors' history, marginalized cultures revived forgotten traditions, and for many, the immortality of memory meant a new form of eternity. However, as the technology spread, ethical and philosophical questions arose. Was it possible to preserve the essence of a life in mere bits and bytes? To what extent could stored memories faithfully represent the complexities of human experience? Scientists, philosophers, and theologians intensely debated the nature of the soul and whether what was recorded could truly capture the true being of an individual. Amid these debates, society transformed. Schools began teaching history based on immortal records, and digital museums became as important as physical ones. Collective memory gained new meaning, and humanity began to realize that every experience, no matter how small, could echo through time, serving as a guide for future generations. This new era of knowledge seemed to promise an evolution toward a more conscious and integrated society. However, it soon became clear that the immortality of memory brought unforeseen challenges. The volatility of human emotions, the selectivity of remembrance, and the possibility of data manipulation opened doors to distortions and conflicts. Even so, the pioneering spirit of those involved in the project remained hopeful that, over time, imperfections would be corrected and the benefits would outweigh the risks. Thus began the journey of the Echoes of Humanity, where the past and present intertwined in an indissoluble way, preparing the ground for a future where memory would truly become immortal. As Mnemosyne gained popularity, the world began to realize that preserving memories went beyond simply keeping records. The project became a true repository of the human legacy, where individual stories merged to compose a collective narrative that would transcend generations. Among the pioneers of this movement was Helena Silva, a visionary historian who had dedicated her life to studying the evolution of cultures and oral traditions. For her, the system represented a unique opportunity to recover lost fragments of human memory. Helena dedicated herself to collecting testimonies from elders in remote communities, recording their stories and transmitting ancestral knowledge that risked being lost with time. In a remote village in northeastern Brazil, she documented the legends and rituals of a people who, for decades, had been forgotten by official history. Each account was processed by Mnemosyne and transformed into a digital echo, preserved so that future generations could one day understand the cultural richness of that legacy. While Helena dedicated herself to this mission, society began to perceive the benefits of this preservation. Schools and universities used Mnemosyne data to create immersive lessons, where students could interact with the memories of people who lived in distant times. Stories of overcoming struggles, fights, and traditions were revived in virtual spaces, bringing historical knowledge closer to daily experience. The technology not only recorded the past but made it accessible and tangible, allowing humanity to glimpse the complexity of its own identity. However, over time, conflicts arose regarding the control and interpretation of these records. Political and religious groups began to dispute the authenticity of archived memories, using them as tools to rewrite history according to their own agendas. Helena, who had always believed in the objectivity of preservation, found herself caught up in heated debates about the authenticity of the digital echoes. She fought to maintain the integrity of the records, defending that immortal memory should serve as a bridge between the past and the present, not as a weapon of manipulation. As society divided between fascination with the immortality of memories and fear of a distorted history, Helena found herself increasingly isolated in her mission. She understood that the true value of the Echoes of Humanity lay in the plurality of voices, in the diversity of experiences that made up the fabric of existence. And at the same time, she fought against the temptation to rewrite the past to suit the conveniences of the present. The legacy of the past, to her, was a precious asset that needed to be protected with rigor and responsibility. Amid this duality, the narrative of Echoes of Humanity became a mirror of the human condition itself, full of contradictions, passions, and challenges. The immortality of memory promised the union of times but also exposed the fragilities of a society that often preferred to forget rather than confront the mistakes of the past. Helena, with her tireless dedication, represented the hope that true knowledge could one day triumph over the forces seeking to manipulate history. Thus, the legacy of the past revealed itself as the foundation for a future where memory would not only be immortal but also a living testimony of humanity. At the heart of the Mnemosyne project, each recorded memory was treated as a unique fragment of the human soul. These fragments, stored digitally, allowed individuals to relive moments that had been forgotten or distorted by time. Among the numerous participants in the project was Miguel Andrade, a young engineer whose life had been marked by loss and reconstruction. Miguel saw in the immortality of memory a chance to rescue the essence of his experiences, seeking to understand himself through the echoes of his own history. Miguel grew up in an environment where memories were passed down orally, but with modernization, many of these stories were lost in the rush of daily life. When invited to participate in Mnemosyne, he decided to record everything from the small moments of childhood to the major turning points of his youth. Every detail, the smell of coffee on a Sunday morning, the laughter shared with friends, or the look of his mother in moments of difficulty, was carefully captured and archived. These fragments were not just data. They were the indelible marks that formed his identity. Over time, Miguel began to realize that the immortality of memory had a transformative effect. As he revisited his own records, he found himself immersed in a quilt of moments of happiness, sadness, accomplishment, and failure. The experience made him reflect on how each decision, each moment lived, contributed to the construction of who he was. The technology, by preserving these echoes, allowed him to relive his journey in an almost tangible way, creating a deep connection between the past and the present. However, the immortality of memories also brought up complex issues. Miguel began to notice that, at times, the recorded memories did not exactly match what he remembered. There were distortions, small variations, and even contradictions. These discrepancies made him question the nature of memory. To what extent does what is recorded represent the truth of the experience? Could it be that, by becoming immortal, memory lost part of its subjective essence, turning into something static and devoid of emotion? As he explored these fragments of lives, his and others, Miguel realized that Mnemosyne was not just a repository of data but a true archive of souls. Each memory, with its nuances and imperfections, told a unique and irreplaceable story. He began to participate in meetings organized by the project, where people from different parts of the world shared their digital echoes, revealing how the immortality of memory could simultaneously unite and divide individuals. This multiplicity of accounts created an environment of exchange and questioning. In heated debates, discussions arose about the right to privacy, the ethics of preservation, and the responsibility to maintain the authenticity of the records. Miguel found himself at the epicenter of a new form of culture, where identity was no longer a mystery to be unraveled but a mosaic of moments carefully kept. He believed that, even with the distortions, these fragments formed a living tapestry, capable of conveying the complexity of human existence. At the same time, technology revealed its limitations. The possibility of external interference, hackers, and data manipulation was a constant risk. The balance between faithful preservation and the adaptation of memories to reality was delicate, and Miguel understood that the project needed ethical and technical oversight to avoid becoming an instrument of control. Thus, the fragments of lives became a battlefield where the past and present met, revealing both the beauty and fragility of the human condition. As Mnemosyne expanded and more memories were preserved, a subtle yet increasingly worrying phenomenon began to emerge. With so many voices from the past available at the touch of a button, people began to question the value of forgetting. For centuries, human beings had lived with the natural process of memory decay, where time erased details, softened emotions, and allowed for new experiences to take center stage. Now, in an age of immortal memories, the weight of the past began to feel burdensome. Psychologists and philosophers expressed concerns that the eternal preservation of every moment would leave individuals with little room to evolve. How could one move forward if every failure, every heartbreak, every mistake was etched in digital form for eternity? Some feared that the inability to forget would lead to a society paralyzed by its past, unable to let go of old wounds or confront uncomfortable truths. For those who had lived through traumatic experiences, the problem was even more acute. Victims of violence, war, and personal loss found themselves reliving their worst moments in vivid detail. Memories that had once been soft, blurry, and distant were now sharp and present, locked in a permanent loop. For them, immortality was not a blessing but a curse. The shadow of forgetfulness began to cast doubt on the very foundations of Mnemosyne. Was it truly a gift to preserve every detail, or was there wisdom in letting go? The debate reached a boiling point when a group of psychological experts suggested that a new technology, the cleansing protocol, be introduced. This tool would allow individuals to selectively delete or soften certain memories, offering them a chance to escape the weight of the past. But for many, the idea of deleting memories, even voluntarily, felt like an affront to the essence of their being. Could one truly be the same person if part of their life story was erased? The question of what it meant to be human became more urgent than ever as society grappled with the implications of eternal memory. For Helena Silva, this issue struck close to home. She had spent years preserving the histories of others, but now she was faced with the question of whether she would allow her own memories to be modified. In a deeply personal moment, she confronted her past, the loss of her parents in a tragic accident, the memories of her childhood home, and the moments of joy she had shared with her loved ones. The thought of deleting any of these memories, even the painful ones, was unimaginable. Yet, she understood the necessity of healing, and that sometimes forgetting could be a form of growth. Helena's inner turmoil mirrored the larger conflict unfolding in society. The line between memory and identity was becoming increasingly blurred, and the immortality of memory had created new challenges. The desire to preserve everything had collided with the human need to forget in order to heal, leading to a crisis of consciousness. The shadow of forgetfulness became a defining theme of the Mnemosyne project. As more people questioned the value of eternal memory, the need for a new ethical framework became clear. Could memory truly be immortal without diminishing the very essence of life? As humanity struggled to answer these questions, it became apparent that the road to an immortal future was more complex than anyone had imagined. While the debates over the ethics of memory preservation raged on, a more subtle, underground movement began to take shape. Not everyone was satisfied with the idea of eternal memory, and some individuals, feeling increasingly suffocated by the weight of their own past, began to rebel in silence. They were not seeking to destroy Mnemosyne, but instead to find a way to break free from the digital chains that bound them. This silent rebellion was led by a group of people known as the Forgetters. They were individuals who had opted out of the Mnemosyne system, refusing to record or archive their memories. They believed that true freedom could only be achieved by allowing their minds to remain fluid, open to the present moment without the constant burden of the past. The Forgetters began to spread their message in small, quiet ways. Encrypted messages in public forums, anonymous blogs, and encrypted virtual spaces. They argued that memory should be something transient, something that evolved with time rather than being fixed in eternity. To them, Mnemosyne was a prison, and true liberation came from living fully in the moment, without the fear of the past constantly lurking in the background. Miguel Andrade, who had initially embraced the technology and its promise of eternal memory, found himself torn between these two ideologies. On one hand, he understood the allure of preserving every detail, of creating a digital tapestry of his life. But on the other hand, he began to feel the pressure of carrying the weight of his memories forever. The stories of the Forgetters resonated with him, and he began to question whether there was something inherently unnatural about holding on to everything. He joined clandestine meetings with others who felt the same way, discussing the possibility of a world without Mnemosyne, or at least a world where memory was more fluid and less permanent. As he spoke with others, Miguel began to understand that memory was not just a tool for the future but an essential part of the present. To forget was not to erase, but to live more fully, unburdened by the past. The silent rebellion grew in strength, attracting individuals from all walks of life. People who had once embraced Mnemosyne now questioned its validity, believing that eternal memory was no more a natural part of existence than immortality itself. As the rebellion spread, society found itself at a crossroads. The immortality of memory had promised to unify humanity, but it was now becoming a divisive force, creating a chasm between those who wished to preserve and those who longed to forget. In time, the inevitable happened. Mnemosyne began to unravel. The system, once thought to be infallible, was no longer the cornerstone of human progress. As society became more divided, its users began to realize that the project had overreached, that the immortality of memory came at a cost no one had foreseen. The tension between the opposing ideologies reached a breaking point, and a catastrophic event occurred. A group of hackers sympathetic to the forgetters launched a coordinated attack on Mnemosyne's servers, causing widespread data corruption. Memories that had once been meticulously preserved were now fragmented, erased, or distorted beyond recognition. The system, once the epitome of technological achievement, had become a shadow of its former self. As the world grappled with the aftermath of the collapse, many questioned whether the dream of immortal memory was ever truly achievable. Perhaps they wondered it was not meant for humans to live forever in their memories. Perhaps the true value of life lay not in what we remember, but in how we choose to live in the present. The fall of Mnemosyne marked the end of an era, but also the beginning of a new understanding of memory. As people rebuilt their lives in the wake of the collapse, they began to rediscover the value of forgetting, of living in the moment, and of embracing the natural ebb and flow of time. And so humanity moved forward, wiser and more cautious, with the knowledge that memory, like life itself, was fragile, fleeting, and ultimately beautiful in its impermanence. With the advancement of research and the intensification of cultural manifestations, Mnemosyne began to offer a new feature, the possibility of reviving the past. This functionality, initially planned as a simple way to access records, evolved into an immersive experience where users could interact with their own memories and historical records in an almost tangible way. Reviving the past became a powerful tool for education, therapy, and even artistic creation. Miguel Andrade was one of the first to experience this immersion. Using an augmented reality device integrated with Mnemosyne, he was able to enter his oldest memories, reliving moments that had previously seemed lost in time. In an emotional sequence, Miguel found himself again in the small living room of his childhood, where his family gathered to celebrate special occasions. Every detail, the smell of homemade cake, the sound of laughter, and the sparkle in the eyes of his relatives, was recreated with surprising fidelity, allowing him to feel the presence of a past that, although distant, remained alive in his heart. These immersive experiences awakened a range of intense emotions in users. Many reported a sense of healing, as if they could confront old traumas and find answers in the preserved memories. Others saw the possibility of learning from the mistakes and successes of the past, using the lessons of the echoes to shape a more conscious future. Schools, universities, and research centers began to incorporate these experiences into their curricula, transforming education into an interactive journey through time. However, reviving the past also raised complex issues. By experiencing memories so vividly, users found themselves confronted with ethical and existential dilemmas. To what extent is it healthy to relive painful experiences? Is there a risk of creating an emotional dependency on the past, preventing individuals from living fully in the present? These questions sparked intense debates among psychologists, philosophers, and technology experts, who sought to find a balance between memory preservation and the right to move forward. Amidst these discussions, Helena Silva emphasized that reviving the past was, above all, a way of reclaiming identity. For her, each memory not revived was a part of the story lost, and the immersion provided by Mnemosyne allowed people to reconnect with their roots. She organized gatherings where participants shared their immersive experiences, transforming each session into a ritual of collective healing. These events became celebrations of existence, moments when the past met the present in a harmonious way. At the same time, authorities sought to regulate the use of this technology, concerned about the psychological effects of continuous exposure to one's memories. The tension between the freedom to revive and the need for emotional protection was present in every legislative debate. Even so, most saw this feature as a powerful tool for preserving history and strengthening humanity's cultural identity. As Mnemosyne consolidated itself as a milestone in human history, the side effects of memory immortality began to manifest alarmingly. While the preservation of the echoes provided a deep connection with the past, it also revealed the emotional, social, and ethical costs of keeping every memory alive. The price of immortality, both for individuals and for society, became the central theme of a debate that divided opinions. For many, continuously reliving memories meant carrying a burden of painful recollections and old traumas. Some users began to report a feeling of emotional overload, as the accumulation of experiences, both happy and tragic, transformed into an unbearable weight. The immortality of memory, which promised eternal identity, revealed itself, in fact, as a trap capable of binding individuals to an inescapable past, preventing them from moving forward. In this scenario, reports of existential crises emerged, where people found themselves unable to distinguish between the revived past and the lived present. The boundaries between identity and memory became blurred, causing confusion and, in some cases, severe psychological disorders. Psychologists and psychiatrists began studying the phenomenon, warning about the need for limits on the use of the technology. The search for a balance between preserving legacy and the ability to live in the present became imperative. In addition to the individual impacts, the social cost of immortality was also felt. The ability to manipulate and select which memories would be preserved led to power struggles between governments, corporations, and interest groups. The integrity of records became constantly questioned, and the manipulation of echoes became an instrument of social and political control. This practice not only distorted history but also undermined public trust in collective memory itself. Amidst this climate of uncertainty, Mnemosyne's defenders faced an ethical dilemma. Would it be justifiable to sacrifice part of the individual's emotional well-being to ensure that the memory of humanity remained intact forever? Or was the price too high, compromising mental health and the freedom of individuals? These questions fueled intense debates in academies, forums, and even in popular conversation circles, where each personal experience contributed to the construction of an uncertain consensus. For some, the immortality of memories was a balm, a way to reclaim identity and strengthen the bonds that united generations. For others, it was a burden that prevented renewal and the necessary forgetting for evolution. Amidst these contradictions, the price of immortality revealed the complexity of human existence itself, the need to remember and, at the same time, the inevitable pain that accompanies the recollection of times that cannot be changed. As the controversies surrounding Mnemosyne intensified, a new vision emerged, that the immortality of memory could be the key to building a legacy that transcended the fleeting nature of life. In this scenario, the Echoes of Humanity project was not merely a repository of data but a testament to what humanity had learned throughout the centuries. Helena Silva and Miguel Andrade, among other supporters, began working together to transform the Echoes into an accessible and inspiring cultural heritage. The idea was ambitious: to create a living museum where every memory, every story, would be organized in a way that faithfully and pluralistically told the journey of humanity. This digital museum would gather accounts from all over the world, allowing future generations to understand the complexity of the challenges faced and the achievements reached. The project aimed not only to preserve the past but also to inspire new ways of thinking about the future, where the mistakes and successes of previous eras would serve as guides for conscious evolution. In this new paradigm, the immortality of memory took on a transformative meaning. Each echo was no longer just a static record but an invitation to reflection and action. Humanity began to understand that its memories, even those marked by pain, were essential elements in building a strong collective identity. Helena defended that humanity's legacy was in the small stories of everyday life, in moments of solidarity, and in the struggles for justice that, when combined, formed a mosaic of experiences worthy of preservation. Cultural and educational institutions adopted the proposal, organizing events and exhibitions that gathered the digital echoes of historical personalities, communities, and ordinary individuals. The Living Museum became an interactive space where visitors could navigate different eras, experience simulations of historical moments, and, above all, understand that every memory was a fundamental piece of the puzzle of existence. The message was clear: true immortality did not lie in the ability to live forever, but in the possibility of leaving a legacy that would inspire future generations. In this context, humanity's legacy grew stronger. Technology, once viewed with fear, began to be seen as a tool to unite people around a common goal: the preservation of history and the construction of a more conscious future. Through Mnemosyne, the echoes became bridges linking the past to the present, fostering empathy and understanding between diverse cultures. As society reconfigured around this new vision, immortal memories transformed into an invitation to action. Every person was challenged to contribute their story, to record their moments of triumph and overcoming, so that together they could build a legacy that reflected the true essence of humanity. The immortality of memory, thus, ceased to be an end in itself and became a means for collective wisdom and experience to endure over time. We have reached the end of this epic journey through the echoes of humanity, where the immortality of memory revealed its charms, challenges, and dilemmas. Throughout this narrative, we saw how technology can preserve our stories, unite generations, and, at the same time, raise profound questions about identity, ethics, and the price of living in the past. Helena, Miguel, and so many others showed us that, behind every digital record, there is the pulse of a unique life, one that deserves to be told and retold to inspire the future. Now the question is, and you, what memories would you keep? If you had the opportunity to turn your own story into an immortal echo, which moments would you choose to preserve? How would your experiences shape the legacy you would leave for future generations? We invite you to reflect on the importance of your memories, to value each moment lived, and to share your stories with the world. Your memory, with all its nuances and imperfections, can be the beacon that lights the way, inspires change, and reaffirms the beauty of human existence. Leave your comment, share your ideas, and above all, don't let time erase what is most precious about you. Subscribe, like, and follow our upcoming episodes, where we will continue exploring the mysteries and wonders of a world where memory becomes truly immortal.